Oh my God. Dude.
No.
How?
Run. Help him. Somebody.
Thank
you for your patronage.
Thank you!
Is this all real? Or is it just happening inside my head? Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mentally Gone Reacts. My name is Callie Lacerda.
And I'm Gabriella Lowe.
And today we will be jumping straight back into the world of Game of Thrones. After the last episode was very eventful. It ended with...
Sansa asking Joffrey to spare her father.
Mercy, please, Lord, my Lord, please, mercy.
And he says, your father will confess, or there will be no mercy for him.
Oh, God.
That's what he said.
There will be no mercy, please. So the stakes are extremely high. There's one more episode after this one, right? And then it concludes the season. People told us to watch the lore.
History and lore
after each season, and we will be doing that before we jump into the next season, and we'll do that for every season. The last episode, Jon Snow confronted the zombie, right? The zombie defeated it using fire. It showed to be immortal towards steel, towards regular weaponry.
Yeah.
Tyrion recruited the mountain crows.
Stone crows
to be a part of the fight of the Lannisters versus the Starks. Robb is leading the Stark army, or the army of the North, with the Bannermen to cross a bridge, a specific bridge that's important to give them an advantage over the Lannisters. And what else we got?
And we got Arya killed the boy as she was escaping with her needle.
Death of innocence.
The pointy end. Syrio Forel. It's kind of ambiguous whether he survived or not. He's still dancing
there with the guy.
I don't think so, but
he just started doing a bachata.
I don't think he did anymore.
As soon as the camera was cut, both of them dropped their swords and they just started. That's what happened.
Oh, yes. I would have liked to see that.
Yes.
It probably would have been way better.
And in the last episode, in the last reaction video on YouTube, we pinned a question and a few people answered that question, and we will be reviewing those answers at the end of this episode.
But basically the question was, if you were Ned Stark, would you have done anything differently?
To avoid this predicament.
Yeah.
To avoid being taken hostage and thrown underneath the King's Landing. Yeah.
And then we'll see, after this one and talk about it all.
And then we'll do that for every reaction video. So if you're watching this right now, if you go into the comment section, there should be a pinned comment, which will contain a question, and we'll kind of like go through and read through every person's answers.
And please always keep it spoiler free.
Yeah, and spoiler free, which we specify.
Yes. And with that being said,
if you're new to the channel or to this series watch through, explain.
We take some notes as we watch the movie. We like to just jot down a few ideas so that we discuss, because we discuss in length after each movie reaction. And if you want to get that full uncut reaction, discussion, explicit, that's over on our Patreon.
Yes.
You will have to have your own copy of the movie, and you will sync up with us. And we have a timestamp for you to follow, exact timestamp, and you can sync your own copy of the movie or series in this case, and join us watching it together.
For a full, uncut, uncensored watch through experience.
Yes, perfectly said.
All right, and I'll be doing a 3-second countdown. Special thank you to everybody over on Patreon for supporting the channel, for supporting what we're doing here, which is a little unorthodox, I'd say, right? Taking this much time with everything we watch afterwards and having a thorough discussion, giving personal insights, personal frameworks, sharing our ideologies, our beliefs, and yeah.
And this episode is called Baelor.
Baelor.
So we'll see what that is because I have
Baelor.
no idea what a Baelor
Baelor.
is.
What's a Baelor? All right.
Baelor, I hardly know her.
Baelor. I hardly know her. That's a good one. All right. 3-second countdown, and I will be pressing play. So if you're at home and you want to sync your copy with us over on Patreon, this is your time and chance to do so. So 3, 2, 1, and play.
Don't forget the glasses. Never,
yeah, glasses
never, never.
This is starting to feel like home. Like hearing this little theme song. Oh, we still have the stag. And King's Landing. I wonder if it's going to change into a lion.
Oh, it has the little sigils next to their names.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I didn't catch that before.
The twins is where Robb is headed.
Oh, look! Damn, they're still that close to winter. I mean, they just left. I forgot.
Yeah, and they got to pass through the twins,
Gosh, that's a long way south.
which is kind of reminiscent of the Bridge of London. Like I've been to London, and that famous London Bridge, it kind of looks like the twins.
Oh my gosh, that's a very dark story, actually. That nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard.
London Bridge is
I've heard
falling.
the song, but I never thought it was morbid.
Oh, it is morbid.
Damn. Aren't like all nursery rhymes and every child story kind of based on very morbid and dark, grim stories, like fairy tales, for example?
Humpty Dumpty's falling off of a wall.
Yeah. Scary. We got the stag contesting with the lions.
Red Riding Hood and the wolf.
Yeah, right?
The three little pigs.
Skins the grandma, wears her skin or something, right? Pretends to be her.
Ooh.
I don't know.
What big teeth you have.
No, we got a silhouette. This is like Plato's cave, the allegory of the cave.
Sansa came to court this morning to plead for your life.
That's how the last one ended.
Before they cut my balls off with a hot knife.
But yeah, he's a eunuch.
I'm a good actor, my lord.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting for his father's freedom. Robb. He is a proven battle commander, and he is utterly without mercy.
I want to meet this guy.
It's true air. You think my life is some precious thing to me? I learned how to die a long time ago.
Seneca. To die before death.
Wow.
Pity.
Bless you.
What of your daughter's life, my lord? Is that a precious thing to you?
Do it for your daughters, man.
Man.
Let go of your honor, your steadfast virtue.
I have too many opinions because I would hold on to my honor.
Really? Even if your family's life is at stake? Come on.
I don't know. It depends on how much at stake it is. He's got his son ready to fight a war.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What bird is this? Is that a crow? They send messages by raven, right? So that's a raven? Or a crow?
Oh, yeah.
His grandfather's bannerman. We can't expect his support.
Expect nothing of Walder Frey, and you'll never be surprised.
Okay, so he's unreliable.
Yeah, his word doesn't really mean anything, it seems.
Oh, great.
Not an honorable man.
Enter the twins alone. He'll sell you to the Lannisters as he likes.
I'll throw you in a dungeon or slit your throat.
So he's like a gatekeeper in the most traditional sense.
Yeah.
If I'm going to lead this army, I can't have other men doing my bargaining for me.
I agree.
True leader. True leader leads. Nice.
It's a toss of a coin here.
And when you speak of prophet, Lannisters.
Oh, what the heck?
Oh shoot, this is Filch from Harry Potter.
It is.
Your mother would still be a milkmaid if I hadn't squirted you into her belly.
What the heck?
All right. You come forward.
He doesn't seem to remember her.
Those are all his children? What do they do all day? Do they just sit there and stare at each other?
I don't know. These are all his kids?
He has a young wife.
You see that? 15 she is.
15.
A little flower, and her honey's all mine.
He licked his lips a little. Just drove chills down my spine the way he just did that. It's disgusting.
He's like,
Christ.
I needed to get rid of sons and daughters. You see how they pile up?
Oh my god, those are all his children. Wow. That's
Even the one he's...
They got no television, so might as well.
To open your gates, my lord. So my son and his bannermen may cross the Trident and be on their way.
Your husband's in a cell beneath the Red Keep, and your son's got no fur to keep his balls warm.
Whoa.
Give me one good reason why I should waste a single thought on any of you.
Okay, he's just indifferent. It seems like he just plays defense.
But that makes him a mercenary, right?
Yeah, he just like whatever one favors him more.
I thought a wolf was more appropriate for you than a bear.
Oh, that's cool.
So I had a new pommel made called Long Claw.
Oh, forged in fire.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. He got promoted. It's like a boss promoting. Because he's a good employee.
Yeah, and a wolf could like associating him with the Stark symbol.
My father's sword.
Damn, it was his
Father
father's.
before him, the Mormons have carried it for 5 centuries.
Wow,
It was
500
meant
years.
for my son Jorah. He brought dishonor.
Jorah Mormont.
Oh, that's the guy with
Danny.
Danny. Before he fled.
Damn, I have to make these connections.
The hand that your wolf tore off that thing's wrist, I've ordered Thorn to lay it at the feet of this boy king. And it puts 1,000 leagues between you and Thorn. And bring me my supper.
Yes, my lord.
Oh, that's really nice.
It's a good father figure. Nice. And it's also the best way to refer what's going on here, right? The real threat at the wall. Send the hand of the zombie.
Yeah.
Instead of the word of somebody or a letter, because we saw that Cersei just rips stuff up, doesn't really care.
I know. I would send the zombie in a box.
I would just capture one and like special
And unleash it on them. And then they're like, whoa, how do we kill this?
unleash it specifically on Joffrey.
Valyrian. Sword. Woo!
Show me your sword, brother.
Oh, yeah. Let's swing our swords at each other.
Whip it out. Come on, whip it out. Whip out your sword, John. Come on, let me see it. Let me hold it.
Like, yo, no Diddy.
Is your brother Robb? What about him? He's heading south to war. I should be with him.
Yeah, because you took the oath. Oh, she's returning with good news. He has a lot of children. That's good.
His men are yours as well.
Ooh.
Be taking on his son, Oliver, as your personal squire.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, no.
And
More?
You will marry one of his daughters.
Oh, God.
Whatever you prefer. He has a number he thinks will be suitable.
That's not too bad.
did you get a look at his daughters?
One was.
One was okay.
One out of the 100.
Because they're all inbred, right?
Yeah.
Then I consent.
This is why money is important, because you just pay a toll on the New Jersey Turnpike, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't have to sell your whole family into marriage to cross something.
Oh my gosh.
That's why money works, guys. That's why you walk into Walmart and you don't have to offer up your whole family to buy a pack of bread. God, imagine it puts the risks for his children and for his generation of offspring, because if they're all inbred,
yeah,
then they're
and he knows how ugly, no offense, Walder Frey is.
And it's worse because he's just mating with his own offspring.
He's butchering while blind.
Perhaps you'd be kind enough to assist
Yeah, isn't he
me.
blind?
Did you ever wonder why the men of the Night's Watch take their wives and father no children?
No.
So they will not love. Love is the death of duty. If the day should ever come when your Lord Father was forced to choose between honor on the one hand and those he loves on the other, what would he do?
He would do whatever was right, no matter what.
And Lord Stark is one man in 10,000. Most of us are not so strong. What is honor compared to a woman's love? And what is duty against the feel of a newborn son in your arms?
Is he speaking from Cersei's perspective? Because she's protecting Joffrey as her son, right? Like she has the whole mother
Yeah.
Oh, we all do our duty when there's no cost to it. Honor comes easy then. Sooner or later, in every man's life, there comes a day when it is not easy. A day when he must choose.
And this is my day. Is that what you're saying?
It hurts, boy. I know.
You do not know. No one knows. I may be a bastard, but he is my father and Robb is my brother.
The gods were cruel when they saw fit to test my vows. They waited till I was old. And what could I do when the ravens brought the news from the south? The ruin of my house, the death of my family. I was helpless, blind, frail.
Old, right?
When I heard they had killed my brother's son, and his poor son, and the children, even the little children.
Who are you?
My father was Micah, the first of his name. My brother Egan reigned after him when I had refused the throne, and he was followed by his son Aerys, whom they called the Mad King.
Oh, shoot, that's who Jaime killed, right?
Targaryen.
I'm the
Targaryen.
master of the Citadel.
Wow.
He was
Bound
the heir
in
to the
service
throne.
to Castle Black and the Night's Watch.
Wow.
I will not tell you to stay or go.
Wow.
Just make that choice yourself.
Damn. But what are the consequences of leaving, though? Like, will he get shot dead if he's, like, will he be a wanted man throughout the Seven Realms?
I don't think you're wanted. I think once you're wanted, but once you're captured, you're dead, just like the other guy.
Oh,
Like someone swings the sentence.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's sick. He's weak.
Drogo.
Oh, man, he's unresponsive. And it's not a good image for his followers, for the strong men of his tribe. Her protection rides on him. Oh, man. It's the optics of power, right? Especially in a tribal sense. It's when it's the most heightened. And she's probably freaking out because if he doesn't get through this, then she's vulnerable.
Yeah, because they're already not taking her seriously.
Making too many changes.
No witchcraft over here.
Do continue. Didn't mean to interrupt.
I do hope your savages are going to be of some use, otherwise we wasted good steel on them. When the battle commences, you and your wildlings will be in the vanguard.
The vanguard? Me and the tribesmen, on the front lines.
Surely there are ways to have me killed that would be less detrimental to the war effort.
There will be no more discussion on the matter.
He's placing him in an expendable position instead of protecting his son.
Yeah, this is the opposite of what the father should be doing. Whoa.
Where did you find one so pretty at this hour?
I took her.
Took her? From whom?
I don't know. Ginger cunt, 3 tenths down.
And he didn't have anything to say about it.
He said something.
He's not living anymore.
Oh, well.
Vanguard. That's like Call of Duty.
I'll go and find myself one.
Might be their last night.
What did your mother call you?
Shay, what did your mother call you?
My mother died giving birth to me.
Is that why I'm here? So we can talk about our mothers?
What sort of accent is that?
Foreign?
Freud would agree. Freud would be like, yeah, actually. Let's talk about our mothers.
What do I want from you? I want you to share my tent. I want you to pour my wine, laugh at my jokes, rub my legs when they are sore after a day's ride. I want you to take no other man to bed for as long as we're together. And I want you to me like it's my last night in this world.
Is it very
Which
much?
It may well be.
Very much maybe.
No one will hurt you for as long as you're mine. 2, the pleasure of my company, which I have heard is spectacular.
Who told you this? Women you paid?
Do you accept my proposal?
Whoa, YouTube! Boom!
I take that as yes.
As soon as he mentions gold to any of the characters in this world, they're all immediately like, yep, let's do it.
Okay.
HBO executives are like, how can we get the views up on this show? How can we really sell this show to people?
Okay. Spicy. Speaking of Dothraki, we got a Dothraki learning book. We'll show it on the next one.
Oh yeah, we forgot to get it.
No one understands how strong he is.
Wow, look at his thing. What's on there?
The wound is festering, like it's infected.
He will die tonight, Khaleesi.
He can't. I won't let him.
Even a queen doesn't have that power.
Power over death. The god of death. What do we say to it? Come on, Drogo.
He's already gone, Khaleesi.
Oh, he's trying to get her to escape now because they won't accept her.
This is Jorah, right? Jorah.
Yeah.
Leave.
This guy seems more seasoned and more knowledgeable. Listen to him as your counsel. Come on, lady. She has no allies. She just clung to the leader.
Anha koi zarvosi.
Javorsi. Drivi. Khaleesi.
Well, she has family. The Targaryen Maester Aemon.
Yeah, but he renounced his family, right?
Yeah.
And he's also blind. So how's he going to help her here?
You must know a way.
Magic?
Some magic.
Oh.
Oh no.
There is a spell.
Oh gosh, I don't like spells.
There is a price.
Of gold, whatever you want.
It's not a matter of gold. This is blood magic. Only death pays for life.
Oh.
Ooh, that's scary.
A sacrifice.
Yeah, sacrifice.
Bring me his horse.
Oh, okay, it doesn't have to be a human sacrifice. Ooh, careful, it's gonna hit him.
Let me kill this witch.
Kill her and you killed your Carl.
This is
Damn, she's really pregnant. But that guy's her ally. Kind of.
Yeah.
Magic is prohibited against certain norms. Ah! Oh.
Bring him back to me.
Damn.
Oh god, I just like froze for a second there.
I just get all squeamish with blood.
That poor horse. Ah, what is she singing? I don't want to hear it.
Damn.
Vosteo.
Yerevi.
Maigi. Koto, Rosa.
Oh, oh. Oh, oh.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, she fell on her stomach? Oh no. You don't let a pregnant lady fall like that.
Ah, no one. Ah! Ooh.
Two different weapons selected.
Oh.
One is a knight, one is a horse lord. Round 2.
Hey, his father's the commander. Oh.
Ah. Oof. Ooh.
Jeez. Yeah.
Oh, I guess it didn't penetrate the armor.
Yes, as I was saying, his father is the commander.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Of the Night's Watch, right? So he grew up on the wall, perhaps?
He got peacocks on his sword.
She's really summoning some stuff in there. Wait, but she said nobody can go in there. Okay. I gotta reset the camera.
Fire is burning your pretty soft skin.
This is what they would do without television. Before TikTok.
Drink.
Drinking games.
Ooh, this is interesting.
Your father beat you.
Oh, he's a therapist. He's a psychoanalyst.
You've been north of the wall.
What? He has? How?
You once loved a woman many years ago, but it turned out badly, so you've never let yourself love again. Oh, wait, that's me. Your mother was a...
Drink.
Ooh.
Your father left the family when you were very young, never to return.
Drink.
Damn, he's just assuming...
Established the rules about lying.
Drink.
He's assuming she had, like, daddy issues and absent mother.
You wanted a different life. You came from somewhere and you wanted to be elsewhere. The old shit-stained world could drink off that one. Right, so specifics. You wanted to be elsewhere, but how would you get there? What's a low-born girl to do?
Drink.
She's doing it by choice, perhaps.
Sure.
Drink.
Or pleasure of the game. Or the love of the game.
So she's not a lowborn either?
And don't talk about my mother and father ever, or I will carve your eyes from your head.
Like a pumpkin.
Happy Halloween.
Our Lord here used to be married.
Ooh.
I don't know that.
Another night, perhaps.
Oh, he doesn't want to play anymore.
I was 16
My brother Jamie and I were riding when we heard a scream. She ran out onto the road, clothes half torn off, with 2 men on her heels. I took her to the nearest inn and fed her. Her name was Taisha. Together we finished off 3 chickens and a flagon of wine. Impossible as it seems, there was a time when I was unaccustomed to wine. I forgot how afraid I was around girls. And somehow I found myself in her bed.
For 3 chickens, I should hope so.
Didn't last long. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And by morning, I was deep enough in love to ask for her hand.
Damn, that's all it took?
Jamie had arranged the whole thing. The road, the bus, all of it.
What?
A girl who's almost doesn't invite another man into her bed 2 hours later.
That's true.
He said I was young and stupid.
And it was his first time to have that experience. Oh man, that's really devastating. His dad is cruel.
That's like a person who encounters a shark doesn't go back into the ocean 2 hours later, you know?
True.
He's like, all right, I'm gonna go take a walk, go play some poker.
Wow, that's very interesting. His brother and his dad.
Oh, this is the next day already?
If I die, weep for me.
You'll be dead. How will you know?
That's a good point. If I die, I'll kill you. Will you know? Like, do we know? That's a good question.
Maybe.
Hey, don't get killed in your own camp.
Ah.
Stay low. Stay low. If you're lucky, no one will notice. I was born lucky.
Tribesmen of the Vale! Gather round!
The commander.
Half man! Half man! Half man! Yeah!
Tough man!
Woo! I mean, not woo. I don't know who I'm rooting for.
I know.
I don't want to root for the.
Ah! Ah!
He didn't make it. What's going on?
By his own. What?
Oh gosh.
Stay low. Oh shoot.
Is he okay?
I see the Lannister banner. It's almost like he's floating. Ugh, damn.
Ooh.
Oh, he's moving. Okay.
He didn't even have to fight.
He slept through the war. Damn.
Wow. So they beat Robb's army like a battle.
I suppose. Oh my god.
Ooh.
They're really enjoying it. Look, it's the same hammer that got him.
You're wounded.
Oh,
Good of you.
just get me with the sword.
I hear we won.
The scouts were wrong. There were 2,000 Stark bannermen, not 20.
Did we get the Stark boy at least?
He wasn't here.
Where was he?
With his other 18,000 men.
And where are they?
So it was a bait and switch type of deal. Lure them thinking that he has his full army present. Are those Lannisters or? I can't make out what the banners are. Oh, okay.
Ooh! They just came from battle, it seems too.
But Tywin
wow.
says he wasn't there. How is he bloodied or muddied?
It's probably what you said. It was like a misdirection.
Let's go.
Wow.
Eye for an eye.
I love you, my sword, but I seem to have lost it.
It is not your sword I want.
It's your head.
Give me my daughters back.
Yeah.
We could end this war right now, boy. Save thousands of lives. You fight for the Starks, I fight for the Lannisters. Swords, lances, teeth, nails, choose your weapons. And let's end this here and now.
One-on-one combat.
Do it your way, Kingslayer. You'd win. We're not doing it your way. Come on, pretty man.
Do you think his father, Ned, would have taken that offer?
Possibly, because he did. He was going hand to hand with him.
The bards will sing songs of their sacrifice.
You're right. I forgot.
But the dead won't hear them.
More concerned with the loss.
One victory does not make us conquerors. Did we free my father? Did we rescue my sisters from the Queen? Did we free the North from those who want us on our knees? This war is far from over.
And you have a slowed down version of the theme song playing in the background.
He's turning out to be very competent.
Yeah. Oh, Arya.
Ooh.
Oh. What? Animal cruelty. Damn, why should you do that to the pigeon?
She has to eat it.
Oh, protein, I see.
Can I have one?
3 coppers.
How about a nice fat pigeon?
Oh, piss off now, go on.
Oh.
Do you have any stale ones from yesterday? Or any burnt ones?
Piss off.
She's hungry.
That's a reasonable request, though. Like, whatever they would otherwise throw in the garbage, give it to her. Why not?
They're taking him to the Sept of Baelor. Who? The Hand of the King.
Sept of Baelor. Oh, that's where the name of the episode comes from. Isn't Sept like a religious dome, like a temple structure, right? Sept?
I'm not even sure.
A religious sept?
Oh gosh, everyone's flocking over here.
To whom the bell tolls. Yeah, it does seem like it kind of looks reminiscent of the Sophia structure in Turkey. I believe it's Turkey.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Oh. Come on, man. Are they cheering or are they cursing him?
Nah, they're cursing him. He's a traitor.
Oh, they've already announced it to the common people that he's a traitor? Wow, look at that. Oh, shoot.
He trusts that guy then.
Yeah.
To get Arya.
Oh, she saw her father again. Oh, this motherfucker. Little finger cut his other fingers off.
I hate all these people.
I betrayed the faith of my king and the trust of my friend Robert.
You didn't, dude. You worked so hard.
I plotted to murder his son.
What?
And seize the throne for myself.
What? That's not even true.
What is to be done with this traitor, Your Grace?
Kill him? What the heck?
My mother wishes me to let Lord Eddard join the Night's Watch. Stripped of all titles and powers, he would serve the realm in permanent exile. And my lady Sansa has begged mercy for her father. But they've the soft hearts of women. So long as I am your king, treason shall never go unpunished. Sir Ilyn, bring me his head.
Oh my god. Dude.
No.
How?
No. Run. Help him. Somebody. Do something. Somebody, please. Oh, she's gonna do something.
Everybody Everybody seems against this decision.
No, this is crazy. No. Oh my gosh.
What the So they had an agreement. Oh god. How is that even possible? Isn't he like the protagonist of the show? Like, man. The dude was already humiliated, had to bend his own values, his virtue, had to confess to a lie, let go of this like character, right? That he's been building his whole life as a warrior, as a leader, as a father, and then has to bow to this teenager, to this spoiled brat. God, what a freaking man. That's crazy. Holy shit, that's insane. What the hell? And nobody intervenes. Like, you know, because it's the king. Like, the kid is wearing the crown. He's sovereign. Like it or not, he's sovereign. So his word does command authority, and he has the final word. But that also shows that, like, he went over. Well, he undermined his own personal council, the religious order, right? Every symbol of authority that was standing with him on that stage, on that platform, seeing through this whole process, he just undermined all of them. He just said, F this. I'm going to act out my impulses, my childish impulses of power.
God, I feel sick to my stomach.
This is ridiculous.
Oh man, oh gosh, I just froze right there.
That's ridiculous. Like, that's insane, actually.
That's
freaking gnarly.
What a bold move from the show. Like, to just, oh god.
But like, what image are they casting onto the crowd, right? Like, what image are they casting onto the people of this world? You see this like disharmony in terms of agreement, between the characters that are on the higher echelon stage, right? Like you see the queen's distaste in what her son is choosing to do, but she doesn't intervene, even though she has the power of a queen to maybe insert her opinion on the matter, perhaps. And then you see the religious order kind of just being, because it undermines also the illusion, right? The not illusion, but like this like religious order that has to be upkept, that has to give legitimacy to the crown. And that's throughout history. You see the same thing. Like you see that religious order, right, has to work with the crown in order to shape belief.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't work. Otherwise the crown doesn't really, otherwise it becomes just like Khal Drogo, right? It's that parallel between those two worlds. It's like that's why Jorah said to Khaleesi, to Daenerys, said, you know, this is in Westeros. Here it's all about the law of the strongest will prevail.
Yeah.
Man, oh my God. Oh my God, this is so insane, actually. This is so insane. It's like, how do you even navigate this now? Like, and there's 8 seasons, people said. Like, okay, so I'm not going to get attached to any of these characters. I'm not going to like I'm going to shield myself completely because I don't want to get my heart broken while watching a show. You know
I know, I'm still processing it.
God.
I feel like I feel like after this video's over, I'm going to go cry.
Like, man, it's like just as I was about to say that, I Tyrion's my favorite character. And then I see him like
I know,
getting killed by a
second,
hammer, and then I'm like, there's no way. There's no way he's gonna die now.
I didn't think he did. I thought he just got knocked unconscious.
But now
there's
if it happens again.
Yeah, there's no denying what happened to Ned.
I won't get the reassurance of like, oh, you know, like you can't die. He's one of the main characters.
Oh, this is so devastating. Oh my gosh, Sansa had to see that. Sansa saw it happen. Her dad getting killed.
And she's soon to be queen also, right? Like she's going to marry Joffrey. And then you see like the crowd witnesses this harmony between the king and his soon to be bride, or soon to be queen, the current queen, his mother. And what message does that convey to the audience, to the crowd? And then there's like a meta component to it, which is like, the viewer, us, we have to contend with an unpredictable reality, right? Like it's not the traditional trope of like last second the hero is saved because of his virtue, right?
Yeah.
So we see Arya with her sword and needle, and we think, oh, like she has the capacity to kill because she's kind of already lost her innocence and she has killed before, and she would kill in order to save her father. And so maybe she sneaks up there and just like, you know, just like does something.
Yeah.
Or helps save her father. But really, like, what would she be able to do? Because if she stepped up on that stage, then she would immediately be killed. Right? Like if she pointed her needle at somebody, then she would be.
Yeah, but then also like, she's a child and there's a crowd there, and that would and they're in a religious, like you said, in a religious location. I don't know that they would butcher a child on that stage, right? I don't know.
But then you have the story that the guy on the wall was speaking with Jon, the blind guy who is a Targaryen. He said that his family, even the children, were executed.
Yeah.
By the Lannisters, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, then that's the thing, right? Because the story, from what I remember, what the Mad King is that he was demanding that everyone be burned. And so then what happened was the Baratheon is the one that was in that war against the Mad King. Right. And then he wins that war, and then he becomes the king. So, and Jaime was the hand, or no, he was the Kingsguard or something of the Mad King. So technically the Mad King was already planning to kill other people's kids because he was going to put fire to people, but then they killed the Targaryens to completely wipe out any possibility of them inheriting the throne. Baratheon and Lannisters probably combined, and Stark and whoever
So
else
this is
involved.
a recycling of that madness then. So Joffrey is going to be the new Mad King.
Yeah.
Because there's no other credence to his authority. He's already non-traditional in the sense of wielding authority and power, right? Because here everything relies on the hereditary kind of passing on of privilege.
I wanted to make a comment about that too, because his mom, Cersei, makes a quick comment as everything is happening, and she says, "My son, this is madness." And I immediately thought, like, Joffrey, ever since we first met him and that incident with Arya and that boy at the river and stuff while they were just fighting with the swords.
And don't forget about the wolf too.
Yeah, he's been cruel. Like, he's had this weird, volatile and cruel nature since the beginning that kind of gets masked with this like charming portrayal that he puts on display.
The persona.
Yeah, the persona. But then
here it seems like he's putting no effort into kind of crafting and meticulously curating a very thoughtful persona, because as a king, you're supposed to have a persona that's merciful and that's in alignment with the divine values of that people, of that culture.
But this made me think
he's
a product of an incestual relationship. And I think that could breed
messed up his
madness, because they said
that's true, actually.
that the Targaryens also inbred. And so maybe the Mad King is a result of incest as well. And his madness is a result of that. It's like a curse of incest.
And back then, most of the stuff wasn't really cataloged medically.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't medical claims for a product of incest. They just assumed that it was either witchcraft or madness. You have the Hunchback of Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Or Notre Dame or whatever.
Notre Dame, yeah.
Like the deformation aspect was seen as a curse and was seen as an unlucky disalignment with the gods or with the higher order of being. All right, so I didn't take any notes for this one at all. It's white and clear as day.
Wow.
Because, I don't know. Like, some days I'm more note taker. Some days I'm more just non-note taker.
I definitely, at the end, I couldn't even think about taking notes. That was emotionally.
But one thing that really stood out for me is this idea of scapegoating, right? There's like a need to scapegoat. And it kind of makes me think about René Girard's, which we've watched interviews in the past. René Girard is a French intellectual, author, academic, and he proposes a concept called mimetic desire that leads to mimetic rivalry. And he also has a position on the idea and the origins of the Judeo-Christian ideal or archetype of scapegoating, right? The scapegoat, the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, Jesus or other mythological figures throughout history, religious figures that are usually kind of sacrificed in order to reestablish the order of the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it made me think about it, because in the way that I look at that crowd, I think, man, it's there's so much instability in King's Landing, especially when Ned Stark publicly, which I'm assuming when he was inside of that, like when he stood before the Iron Throne, obviously that's a public exchange, right? It's not private, because then word got out into the public sphere that he's a traitor and he's a coward, right? That's the propaganda that was being peddled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when he was doing his walk of shame and he was paraded as a traitor and kind of driven through the crowd, where the crowd gets to have that visceral kind of assimilation of this betrayal by confronting the root cause of the instability of the realm, right? Or that's what the propaganda is kind of trying to convince them of, is that Ned Stark is the reason why there's so much instability, why there's so much doubt in this world now, because he's a traitor. He's the person that's making them doubt whether or not the order or the principle that keeps everything in order is otherwise not valid.
Yeah. And
you know,
Ned Stark in a way is indirectly or maybe even directly responsible for their king dying.
Yes.
And then he is trying to claim the throne for himself, and he's an outsider from the north, and these people are from the south with different religious views and different principles.
Yeah.
And so he's a threat already. And so that's why, just like you're saying, he's an easy kind of target to
Yes.
scapegoat. Yeah.
Exactly. Like he is to blame for all of their sins, right? So usually how that works, or in this case, how it works, is that there's a mimetic desire, which is this hive consciousness, right? This like group mindset that is putting the blame, all of the blame for the king, for the king's death and the instability of the realm onto Ned Stark. And the mimetic desire is that they want redemption, like they want to feel redeemed. They want justice to be enacted. And that's the king's job. It's the king's job. It's the religious order's job. It's the king's counsel to counsel him through this kind of like tricky political maneuvering. But then the interesting thing is that when you have so many people desiring the same outcome, the same thing, you create a lot of friction, right? And we see that, for example, a modern version of that would be Black Friday, right? Right before Black Friday, let's say the PS6, the PlayStation 6 releases, and they get the most popular person. They get The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson to promote it because he has the biggest access and he's the most known kind of face and the highest paid actor, I think, or something. But you get Dwayne The Rock Johnson to promote, which is what he did with the original Xbox, by the way. When Microsoft released the original Xbox, they used Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I just realized that. So it was a subconscious coincidence there. But let's say that event happens again. Mimetic desire convinces us, essentially, this is what René Girard believes, and I think there's truth to it, is that none of our desires are actually intrinsically our desires. I don't desire the brand new Xbox that's coming out because I solemnly kind of mustered that desire out of thin air, or I channeled it from the gods. It's because I saw Dwayne The Rock Johnson wanting the Xbox, and that made me want the Xbox.
Yeah.
So it's mimetic. It's like it's mirroring, right? So when you have so many people on Black Friday wanting the same thing, you create mimetic rivalry, which is the friction, and that usually plunges the world into a chaos, into a chaotic realm. And that's what's happening here. Everybody wants justice. Everybody wants justice to be sought, and everybody wants some form of stability to be reestablished. That leads to mimetic rivalry, and that is displayed by having a crowd with pitchforks, and they're angry in an angry crowd, So the way to pacify this, to resolve this political predicament, is scapegoating. So you basically cast all the blame onto this goat, which is the sacrificial lamb, and the sacrificial goat in this case, Ned Stark, and you blame that person for everything, and you make a public display of that resolution. But in this case, there's a subversion of that, which I find brilliant, and it's so interesting because the audience, us, we know that the scapegoat is innocent. We know, right? The crowd in that show, like in that world, doesn't really know. And then that's why it was interesting to me. Like I started questioning what are the optics that they're trying to relay to the people of King's Landing, and what will the people of King's Landing think of this act, of this overstepping, of this brute demonstration of power over diplomacy and maybe a more organized structure of running the Seven Kingdoms. What will they interpret this as? And it's a subversion of it because we know the innocence of the scapegoat, and that is what makes the mechanism of scapegoating prevalent. That's what emphasizes what's happening. That's what happens specifically in the Judeo-Christian belief system, is that Jesus is we are told of his innocence, right? We are convinced.
We have the revelation. Yeah.
Our belief is formed around this idea and this knowing that he was innocent and still he was sacrificed on the cross, right? So in this case, it's just interesting because how can it, like, they probably thought, because, like, look, my thing is this. I think that Ned Stark was going to be casted to the wall with his brother and with his bastard son, Jon Snow, was going to be sent to the wall, take the black, disappear, exiled forever, ostracized by the whole realm, branded as a traitor, yada, 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 but kept alive and allowed to live. That would have maybe not created as much chaos as I'm assuming this is going to create, right? Because now it's going to be all out war.
Yeah.
Like, what happens when Robb Stark hears about this? What happens when Catherine hears about this? What's going to happen to Jaime Lannister now? It's like, it's all out war. But they could have avoided it if they sent him to the wall, if Joffrey listened to his counsel, listened to the religious order, because the religious order was trying to even piggyback off of this event to reinstate the power of their religious order. You know, like claiming that Baelor the Beautiful, right?
Baelor the Blessed.
Baelor
or
the Blessed.
Something.
A
Beloved.
double B. Yeah, like a double B word. But Baelor was a merciful, just, but merciful, and so are the gods. So now Joffrey kind of messed that up.
One thing I wanted to say about what you just mentioned, right, is the idea of preventing more casualties, right? That's actually something that, well, first and foremost, I think the reason I know this about like executions and like death penalty and stuff, because I researched about it in college and whether the death penalty is something that should be continued in practice, because it still is in certain countries like the US and in Japan and other countries.
China.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure. But,
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But what do you call it? But the reason that they did these executions publicly in the first place, like the guillotine and things like this, where they had them in front of a crowd, and take the example of Jesus, is because it was meant to kind of deter criminals by instilling fear and showing them the consequences, but then also offering mercy. And these authorities that were giving the execution or sentence were said to have the power of life and death by God. So they are delivering God's justice, whether it's mercy or whether it's death. And so they have that right. And that's kind of what their argument was, and then why the church and state were so directly involved with each other, because the church used the state to be able to kind of be able to like push religious conformity, and the state used the church to be able to what's the word I'm looking for?
Consolidate their power.
And justify their brutal whatever, like their brutal methods, like whatever methods they choose. If it's killing, if it's war, if you have religion backing that, then it makes it kind of moral, or it makes the principle less like
yeah. Otherwise, it becomes a Hobbesian, all like everybody for themselves type of thing. Like there's no underlying structure or foundation that keeps everything in place.
But the interesting thing about what you pointed out about how we have the revelation that he is innocent, right? And his family knows that, and the northern men know that, because he's a respectable figure there in the north and not in the south. But what's interesting is that in real life, even why executions went from being public to being private is because a lot of those people who were being sentenced to death and being sentenced to execution and were being used as scapegoats and killed wrongfully, a lot of the times, the crowd started to be able to have that revelation themselves. And these people ended up becoming martyrs. And so they had to move these executions behind walls.
Wow,
because if you have a figure that becomes a martyr, it just incites more rebellion, which is probably going to be the case now. Because I started thinking, Ned had already sent a raven to Stannis Baratheon, confirming that he is the heir to the throne. And so he's going to get that message. His family obviously knows that he's innocent, and they already know that the Lannisters are morally corrupt. Lysa's husband was already killed by them for the same reason. So it's like they'll be able to tie in those pieces. But now the problem is, just like you said, what Joffrey chose to do creates this ripple effect that will incite war, that will incite rebellion. And then it's just a matter of time, if that's the case, where the crowd who were cheering for this execution will eventually learn that their king is no true king.
Yeah.
And then that will crumble, or if that is the case, but then that crumbles his empire and his throne and his claim to the throne.
Yeah, and proof of Ned Stark's virtue is that he has no real stake in benefiting Stannis with that information. Like, he doesn't really benefit from it, other than maybe securing his family another ally, right, in this all-out war that I'm assuming is going to happen now from the people in the north versus the south, which it's now going to be clearly divided. So
Civil war.
A civil war. And then an interesting thought and more of a question really is like, what will the men of the north, his bannermen, which were already barely respecting Robb Stark as a leader, right? Will they be swayed by the propaganda of the South? Like, or will they, just like you said, like their reaction is going to be like spitting on the floor and saying, filthy Lannisters, liars, bunch of liars, all of them. Or are they going to be like kind of, really, Ned? So Ned's not really that good of a guy. Because everywhere you look, there's a struggle for power, right? So in the North, for example, there's the guy who doesn't respect Robb Stark and who maybe wants to be the guy in the place of Ned, right? So there's always this so we don't know if the people of the North are really steadfast in their loyalty, but if Ned Stark is an indication of the values that are upkept in the North, then we can rest assured a little bit that that's going to be the outcome, that they're going to not crumble under the information that they're going to receive that Ned Stark is actually a traitor.
I think it's really night and day difference. I think that the northern people do uphold their oaths and their word, and then that's why Walder Frey is kind of an outsider in that sense, and they all kind of sense it. But they gathered behind Robb, even though he's basically a child. Like I'm pretty sure he probably is a teenager or
he's a green boy.
Not even a full adult yet, because he's not married and he doesn't have any titles yet.
He's got no fur on his balls.
Yeah, he's shaved.
So that's maybe
Manscaped.
3.0, 4.0. Like Manscaped has become the new iPhone at this point, right? Sponsor us. Sponsor videos. I may or may not use Manscaped.
I may or may not know.
Not a free advertisement.
But my point is that I think that they are true to their word, and I think that they respect and even when Catelyn rallied them to capture Tyrion, they did it. And I think that the Lannisters already have a tainted view with the people from the South, because Jaime Lannister is a Kingslayer, right? They know him to be that. So he's someone who doesn't abide by his word and turns around and backstabs his king.
I wouldn't mind it if he was a Kingslayer now.
Yeah, he should Kingslay Joffrey.
I think he should pick up his last gig.
His own son.
and like go do what you were doing before, guy.
Go live up to your title now.
Let him cook. Gosh. Just like the kids are saying. Let him cook.
I hate Joffrey.
God, his face is so punchable.
I have so much to say about Joffrey.
And I don't mean any disrespect to the actor who plays Joffrey.
No.
I just want to make that clear. For all the videos on this channel, we're always going to just distinguish the actor from the character, right? It's like when we were watching Harry Potter and we had a disdain towards Draco Malfoy, it doesn't mean that we're hateful towards the actor. Like, that's not the point here, right? It's all fictional. But Joffrey being a product of incest I think gives him an extra punchable face.
Yeah, it does.
I just want to say that.
I'm sorry to say.
I'm sorry to say that, but it kind of
no,
like,
but it's a sly little smile.
Yeah, it's
He's
little,
got like he does remind me of Malfoy. Actually, that's a perfect.
He's the Malfoy of this.
Because you honestly, like even that incident with Arya, the way that he acted like a victim is exactly what Malfoy does. And they just have a lot of bravado and arrogance, like masking their weakness and their insecurity. Because that's what they
cower behind their father or their mother.
I will say this. I had to check. I will say this. I do kind of pity Joffrey, and I'll explain why. Because I have to look at it from like a psychoanalytic lens too. He did not have any love growing up, and you could tell. Like he has the polarity of dysfunction from his parents. Like Robert, who he thinks is his dad. Well, first and foremost, Jaime, who is actually his dad, is his uncle. And so he has to be emotionally vacant and absent from his life because he can't be his dad. And then
Can't act like his dad either.
King Robert is just indulging on women and food and doesn't care about his children, is not present in their lives, and he's a detached, dismissive father. And then Cersei is just an over-controlling, kind of
overbearing mother,
kind of cruel. Because I have something to say about that too, about like why was this his decision, and I'll get to that. But she's a violent person, and we see that because her and Jaime push Bran out of a window, and she's the one that orders the direwolf to be killed. And so I'll get to explaining why this makes sense. Why
she passed down the cruelty to him because if Tyrion said that he's a good judge of character, right? So and he loves his brother, so I think that he judges his brother's character pretty well, and he judges his sister's character pretty well, and also his father's character. And I think that Jaime differs a little bit from Cersei in that way. I think that Cersei does give off that cruelty vibe, that like evil mother trope, you know?
Yes, the evil stepmother. Yeah,
evil ice queen type beat.
But the thing that I wanted to say is that with that situation with Arya and the direwolf, like what's connecting in my head now, why his decision is to execute Ned, and it kind of makes sense in this weird way, is that her response to him victimizing himself and claiming that he was attacked by Arya and her direwolf is that the only justice that can be served is retaliation through elimination. And so she orders the direwolf to be killed. Violence is the only solution, and that becomes like a normative belief that is implanted in his head. And then the direwolf is killed and justice is served, and then there's peace at last. And so he, in this moment,
that's all he's ever known, scapegoating.
He, in this moment, is associating like, okay, how do I fully eliminate this threat? Because there's so many threat levels to this. Like this guy called out his legitimacy to the throne and all of these other things. And so how do I eliminate this threat? I have to just eliminate him. I have to just retaliate with violence. I need to assert my power. And that's what he's taught from his mom. Yeah. And so he just carries that out. He has no form of empathy.
And everybody else around him fights his battles for him.
Yeah.
And that's what we discussed in that episode where, it shows him on the Iron Throne. And when the Sir Barristan or whatever, the Knight's Guard that renounces himself, or whatever that guy's name is, he renounces himself and throws his sword, and that makes Joffrey flinch. So, if his mother's his tutor and his teacher, Cersei also seems to cast like a larger shadow, a cowardly shadow. I feel like Cersei is also a lot of just manipulation and scare tactics versus actually contending with stuff firsthand, and she teaches that to her son. And his grandpa is fighting his battles for him too. It's like in the battlefield.
Yeah. And another point is, oh God, what did you just say?
I just got to reset the camera soon. So help me keep track of this.
Oh, okay. I'll be quick on this part. But another thing is that you saying that he scours at the knife and stuff. What's very interesting is that the very first episode of this show is Ned executing a man who fled from his duties of the Night's Watch, right? And so he meets the sentence of being beheaded in the same way. But when Ned executes this guy, he allows him to say words, and then he also swings the sword as he passes the sentence. And he makes that very clear. If you're going to pass the sentence, then you have to be the one to swing the sword. And so Joffrey is already a coward in that sense because he has someone else swinging the sword, this guy that's like expressionless and then just does the act for him. And so Joffrey has no honor and no duty and no real perception of the gravity of death and of execution and what it is, and that it's not a form of just punishment, but it's a form of duty that you honor for the truth. And and he's obviously not abiding by that.
And a modern parallel to that, before I reset the camera, is when you pay with a credit card or debit card and contactless payment, because you don't really have that direct exchange of the cash money. You don't feel the money anymore. So it's easier for you to just justify that one click on Amazon and that one online click, because you don't have real skin in the game.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have skin in the game. He outsources all of these bigger responsibilities. That is what defines a good charismatic leader, a good charismatic king, even in the traditional sense, especially in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
But another interesting thing too is like, if you look at it from a Max Weber, or people say Max Weber, he was a German academic also. Like I do a lot of reading off camera, so sorry if I come off too like heavy with these like.
You're a nerd.
I'm a nerd. I'm always gonna be a nerd. Nobody take that away from me. I'm always gonna be a nerd. But Max Weber, he had this idea of I believe it's Macht, which is like raw power, versus authority, which is Herrschaft or Herrschaft. And he basically struggled and wrestled with the idea of religious theology, more specifically something called, or the conflict of interest that is embedded in the idea of theodicy, which is trying to reconcile, like basically, how can there be a sovereign and just and all good God, or gods in this case, if evil is allowed to take place and injustice is allowed to unfold? And in this case, how can a just man, just like Ned Stark, who comes into King's Landing as the person who was hand selected by the king himself to be the hand of the king, known throughout the realms as one of the most noble and just like stand-up dudes in this world, right? Like he's a really stand-up guy, and the whole world knows it, and people receive him well when he enters, but then he has this like, this harsh ending, which he branded as a traitor, which is the lowest of the lows. And so the conflict of theodicy in this case is emphasized to me because everything happens in front of the Sept of Baelor, which is this massive building, right? It's this religious compound. And going back to the optics of it, to the political aesthetics of everything, like the optics of this is that you have this huge religious structure, which is emblematic of divine intervention or divinity itself, and you have it being weaponized by the personal political interests of this group of individuals, which are the Lannisters, right? So they're masking their personal political gain and moves and advantages in the light of this massive divine kind of alignment, which is not true. So the problem of theodicy in this case is, how do you justify that? And that's why the religious order was present on stage, and they also gave their word that this would be in alignment with the merciful and just gods. But then the problem of theodicy is not resolved in my way of seeing it, because unless the people truly believe that Ned Stark was a traitor, which I find hard, especially after Joffrey demonstrates his childish kind of exercise of Macht, of raw power, he undermines his own authority, which is the legitimation of authority, which is also another Max Weber concept, which is like, there are three classifications of legitimization rule, of authority, of a king. And the three are traditional, which is what all of Westeros, well, not all of Westeros, aside from the Khal Drogo tribe, which theirs is like more basing off of mocked of brute strength, and their sovereignty is defined by brute strength. But there's traditional, which is what King's Landing is founded on, which is the hereditary kind of passing on of customs and lineage, blood. There's a charismatic ruler, which the best example in history would probably be Napoleon, who went from a citizen class of warrior, of a commander, and then kind of like grew through the ranks and became this charismatic leader. And then you have the bureaucratic, which is the legal, rational department, which is what kind of aligns best with our modern democratic system, which is just all of these legal, written loopholes and hoops that the common citizen, most common citizens aren't even up to par for that task. Like they're not even at the intellectual ability, uneducated to all of the hidden machinations of power. So that's the legal, it's the bureaucratic. Like it's usually used as a negative connotation, right? Like if you go into the DMV and you think you brought all the documents you need to take another picture for your driver's license, and they're like, nah, you need to bring this and this, so you can't do it. And they're like, oh, this shit's so bureaucratic, like F this shit, you know? So that's the whole idea of like bureaucracy. But in this case, he or they, his council and the religious authority, the Lannisters, their interest is to resolve the conflict of theodicy, is my point. And they're doing that by showing this alignment of the crown with the religious order and with the traditional customs in order to kind of reassure all the realm that Joffrey is in fact the true traditional, and hopefully, which in this case he shows to be the opposite, but hopefully you want a traditional and charismatic king who keeps himself and the realm in an orderly bureaucratic manner, like in balance. Yeah. But then he kind of breaks that and kind of like takes the power from the gods, because then now if you're in the audience or in the crowd, you're like, huh, how could Baelor the beautiful or Baelor the beloved, how could Baelor be just and merciful if Ned Stark is a good man? You know, Rick, Rick, I just think it's kind of, Rick, I just think it's kind of,
I can't do it.
I just think it's kind of messed up, Rick. You know, it's just like, Rick, you can't really justify a good, benevolent God, Rick. You can't, because Ned Stark was killed, Rick. And
I've never watched it, but whenever I've seen him like play it, I just hear the burping. I can't do it. It's like a Seth Rogen.
I think I've watched that show so many times. Like I've watched the first season so many times back in the day, but I don't think I ever got past season 1, which is why like we should also cover that show. I think
very interesting that you meant everything you mentioned, because there's another kind of like words or perspectives of this, and it's I think it's called utilitarianism and deontology.
Yes.
And the idea of utilitarianism is that it focuses directly on the outcome and the consequences. And so utilitarianism is all about maximizing the well-being of the greater good, right? And it doesn't really matter if it's at the detriment or the cost of an individual.
Which is a core Machiavellian principle, right? It's the realpolitik of the Niccolo Machiavelli.
It could get messy because it's
the means justify the end. No, the ends justify the means.
Yeah, because it's too fluid. It doesn't have any like rigid kind of rules. And then deontology, on the other hand, it's all about the principles and the moral code, and it follows like the universal moral codes, like do not kill, do not steal, do not lie. And so it's more rigid in its consequences of that. And And the interesting thing is that Ned, all the way up until this point, was very firm in his deontology, which is he has to abide by his moral code, and his moral code is his duty to the truth. And the truth is that Stannis Baratheon is the true heir. And so he makes that his duty to bring that about reality, to make that the reality. And
even if it doesn't benefit him in a personal gain sense.
Even if it costs him his life, which is what he tells Varys. Like, do you think my life is so precious to me? I grew up with soldiers. I learned to die a long time ago. And so his deontology, he's going to stick by the principles of that moral code, even if it costs him his life. But then at the very end, when he sees Arya, I think is what kind of really triggers it for him, because maybe he didn't even know what he was going to do up until that point. Like if he was going to stand by his word and then just die, or if he was going to confess to treason. Like I think that what swayed him in the last second, because I don't think that he was swayed so quickly. I think it was Varys pointing out like what of your daughter's lives and kind of, triggering that fatherhood responsibility, because his daughters right now are in the hands of these people who, like he mentioned, killed his friend Robert, butchered his men, all of his men. He has no allies. He's alone. He's a lone wolf in the South right now with no pack, no bannermen, no allies to protect him, to rally against him, to fight against the people there, right? And then crippled his son. So they violated multiple moral codes. And so they already don't abide at all by deontology, which he does. Yeah. And then the interesting thing is that in that last second, I think seeing Arya triggers and then seeing Sansa standing there also triggers his responsibility, and why he tells that guy, Baelor, to signal to him to save Arya, was his trigger of switching to the utilitarian and deciding, okay, I'm going to shift my stance now. I'm going to confess to treason because the greater good for him right now is saving his daughters.
And you're right, because while he was in the dungeon, imprisoned, he wasn't bending to Varys's sounds like a snake.
He is. He
whispers. Just like the guy from Family Guy. Oh, Christopher, the old man.
Yeah, he's like, I want to touch you, Christopher.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, because he didn't even know what was made of Arya, and when he saw Arya had survived, I think that's what triggered to him. And him being able to protect his daughters, even if it meant him being ostracized and being stripped of his honor, just like the old guy, the Kingsguard, stripped of his responsibilities and kind of like refused to serve this new king.
And so like not only does he sacrifice his life because he doesn't really know whether or not he will be shown mercy, but he confesses to treason with the intended promise of mercy being given to him, and then it wasn't. So in that way, like Joffrey violates both, which is insane. Like he doesn't abide by the utilitarian, which is benefiting the greater good, because what he did is going to incite war. It's going to upset and rally the North even more so, because right now they have Jaime captive, and maybe they were thinking of like negotiating a trade-off. It's like save Ned and give you back Jaime, and then we'll step back and you guys could go back to your lives and we'll go back to our lives. And then that's basically it. Like they put themselves in a position of leverage to negotiate. And that's why they're not killing Jaime, because they don't want to have this war drag itself out. The idea is to just retrieve their daughters and Ned, and then they can have Jaime back probably, and then that's it. But now that hope is gone. And so rebellion is only going to be ignited tenfold because of this. And so Joffrey has no regard for the greater good. And then on the other hand, because the greater good would have been send Ned to the wall, just like Cersei and Varys were advising him to do. And he didn't. He disregards his counsel. And then the deontological front would be to have honor, and he has no honor. And so he doesn't abide by any moral code, like on any front. And so that, and one last thing I wanted to mention is that this is a very real world connection. The Hiroshima and the Nagasaki bombings, which I in college met survivors, and I got to hear them share their experience, and even meet them and talk with them and take a picture with them and stuff. And
I saw that recently. Just a side note, hold on to what you're saying because it has to do with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I saw a side note that there's a technology company currently developing a VR experience using the survivors of those atrocities to replicate the experience through VR for people who visit the sites.
Wow.
So it's kind of like a Holocaust experience, kind of like but they're doing it using VR, which is insane.
Wow.
Imagine they apply that experience to the Holocaust and you're walking through it and you're experience. I don't even know if that's ethical, if the United Nations would even allow something like that. It could be too traumatizing, but that's a whole other debate, right? Like, do you hide history because of its atrocities, or do you expose people to it so that it doesn't repeat itself?
Mm-hmm. But very interesting because, like in that case, right? Why that happened and what the argument was that those bombings happened to prevent more lives from being lost, but then it came at the cost of the lives of innocents. But the idea was that they used these bombings to prevent an invasion that would cost millions of lives on both sides. And so it was a swift end to World War II. And that was the justification for it, even though it was through this horrific act. But then on the deontological front, people who are completely opposed to it and understand the opposite of it is that there is no moral justification to using the lives of civilians, tens of thousands of innocents, including children, as a means to an end, like you said. And so it's these two polar opposites that exist. And this is the conflict in life today still. It's always like,
it's happening now.
How do we, like, do we serve what the greater good or our perception of what we can do to save the greater good, or do we abide by moral codes? And I think that if everybody aboded by moral codes, then there wouldn't be issue to begin with. If everybody had principles, if everybody followed the code of ethics of not killing and not stealing and not lying, then there would not have to be a need for this debate to begin with, or the consequences.
And unfortunately, even though that resonates naturally with me, we live in a world that is Machiavellian at its core. So it's always going to be the ends justify the means, and truth. Very rarely does power act in alignment with truth, and more often truth is manufactured and distorted and crafted by those in power. And then the belief of the crowd is usually forced upon. It's like it's through coercion and through more cynical practices.
What I think is really interesting that you mentioned earlier when you were talking about how the crowd rallies toward finding a scapegoat or releasing the problems,
tension.
The tension.
The chaos is pacified and resolved through a scapegoat.
What's interesting about that is that was exactly why executions took place to begin with, and through religions, like using like clergy's present, just like in this case, like having a religious someone of the church present there, was because then it would, when this execution would happen, or if this person was like sacrificed in a way, then that person not only was the cause of all their problems, but then becomes like a cure in a sense, and then gives them this relief. Cathartic, this like catharsis. And then in this weird way, and how they framed it was that, oh, it's okay because it's a divine sacrifice that now purifies us and purifies our sins and our transgressions, because this transgressor is giving their life to redeem us.
But
and
the reason why it doesn't work is because Joffrey states that there was a pre-established agreement, which was an exchange, right? Like you were talking about exchanging Jaime for Ned Stark. In this world, agreements and giving your word mean something until Joffrey proves that it doesn't. So the scapegoat would resolve this, but in this case, I don't think it does or will, because Joffrey literally overstepped everything that was established, which are the customs of a people. It's like, it's just like the Khaleesi trying to overstep on the customs of the Dothraki people. It's like people take it very seriously.
But you see, like, it's very interesting that she has someone from the other side of Westeros who kills one of the Dothraki, and so it's kind of like she might still be able to insert her power or assert her power in this Dothraki tribe, and that will be interesting to see.
Once she went into that tent with the demons screaming and stuff, I was like, oh, shoot.
Well, once she was eating that horse heart, I was like, I don't put anything past her. Like, she's stronger than I thought.
Her stomach is made of iron, honestly, because if I eat like spoiled food past a few days, I already kind of like suffer for it.
or you eat meat that's like too red.
Like too, I don't like bloody meat. Like, look, here's an insight on my food preferences. I know people like bloody meat, like when it's still kind of like moving around on your plate. I'm not a psychopath. I don't like well cooked, or like well done. Like I don't like. I'm not a psychopath. I like medium.
Medium,
Like medium. Like if it's a really good restaurant and I'm feeling a little adventurous, then I'll do medium rare.
Yeah, I usually medium. It's like medium for everything is good. It's like
medium
just a little,
is like safe.
Little pink in the middle. That's it.
Little pink.
Is it pink? The meat guys.
One in the stink, one in the pink.
What the heck?
All right, I gotta reset the camera.
Go ahead.
All right. So also with the whole like Ned Stark kind of like character arc, right? It gives me the echoes of a like he's obviously shown himself to be very stoic, right? Like he's the embodiment of Seneca's idealism, right? The stoic philosopher, the apatheia, right? Like he even demonstrates that towards the end, like when he's confronting death. Apatheia means it's the stoic idealism of not allowing yourself to be possessed by the passions and the emotions when confronting death. So you learn to die before you die. And that's why he even said, like, he abides by the ancient samurai code of ethics. You know, it's the ethics of the warrior, right? It's the warrior philosophy, is that you learn to die before you die. So that way you are immortal on the battlefield, right? Because you've already died to yourself and you are there to enact and to kind of solidify your honor. And honor is obtained by enacting your duty, right? So there's this deep devotion towards duty and duty to the realm and duty to your family. And that's what he really, really embodies, right? But there's also, especially at the end of this, there's a peripeteia, which is the reversal of fortune, right? In the traditional Aristotelian tragedy, right? The classical tragedy story, right? Of the tragic hero. The peripeteia is the reversal of the fortune. It's Michael Scott's, oh, how the turntables have turned, you know? It's like he comes in as the hand of the king. He was hand selected by the king of the seven realms, and he did everything he could to really kind of contribute and to enact his dutiful
role
obligations in service and in favor of the realm, right? But then you also have in the traditional Aristotle's traditional tragedy, the classical tragedy, is that you have what's called, I believe it's called hamartia. You have hamartia and you have anagnorisis. You have hamartia and anagnorisis. And hamartia is the tragic blindness. It's the tragic flaw, right? And then anagnorisis is the tragic realization that usually in the case of a tragic hero, specifically in this case, and the show beautifully captured that, especially how they cut the show just as his head gets cut off, like that's when they end it. They end it there at the climax. And at the climax of the traditional Aristotelian tragic story is the anagnorisis, right? It's the climax. It's when the hero, the tragic hero, realizes the true nature of either their adversary or their own condition, right? So they realize it too late often. And he realizes it when the camera gives us that close up and the silence starts to come in, right? And you see that the crowd's noise starts to dissipate and he starts to focalize on like what it is exactly that he spent his life kind of servicing. Like he's been servicing these people that are spitting and throwing rocks and calling him names and don't even really have much education as to how the world actually works. And they're just following the whims of the crowd and of those parental figures above them of authority, which is the king and the religious order. But that moment of realization for him is that his virtue, his adherence, his stronghold on his own personal values and his feeling of value and his belief of valuing his duty above all else and viewing it as absolute truth, because that's essentially what he does as a warrior, as a person who is in duty to the realm and his family. He has that realization and it comes a little too late. And I think that is a beautiful demonstration that in this world, he is the embodiment of the old guard being exchanged for the new guard. So he embodies, in the Carl Jungian sense, he's the archetypal father figure, right? So he is not only a man, but in this public Michel Foucault technology of power, which is the execution and the stage, he becomes the embodiment, the archetypal father in the sense of what the world kind of holds as their values. He's a traditional kind of library of the values of this universe. So with his decapitation and with the advent of this new king who now imposes his whims and will and his just raw power on anyone he pleases, it shows that the father figure of this realm, the axis mundi, the person that kept all of these things kind of in alignment, is now gone. So the knowledge keeper, right? The box of Pandora is no longer there. So like now there's this void, and I'm assuming it'll be filled with war and with struggle for power, and it's Game of Thrones for a reason, right? So it's a game. But it's interesting because his hamartia, his tragic flaw, his tragic blindness is his own virtue. It's because he upkeeps this apatheia, this like idealism of like virtue and keeping yourself within this alignment of a warrior code that is not respected and followed by those who actually govern and hold the power of this realm. Like you don't see
the system.
You don't see hints of nobility in the sense of virtue coming from Tywin Lannister. You see him as a person who understands how the game works, and he's skinning a stag, and he understands what power really is and how power is, passed back and forth and what it truly means. And then you have a stark contrast, which is Ned Stark. And I think even the name is supposed to kind of echo something that is supposed to kind of like shake the audience out of apathy or out of this assumption that nobility and virtue is going to save him in the end, which it didn't. And that's what every religious system is founded upon. It's founded upon this omnipotent and omnipresent embodiment of virtue that is going to wash away the sins of the people, of those who don't know any better, because because virtue is the highest good. But in this case, it's not, because it's a Machiavellian snake pit where virtue is dependent on who gains what, where, and how, and who crafts the narrative in which manner and how, like in the best optimal way where the crowd is the most receptive to that morphing of a belief system.
Yeah, because his values of upholding his moral duty is frail in the system. Nobody. It's almost like
it's inflated.
It's all subjective though. Like that importance that he feels that it is subjective to him. Obviously, it's morally correct, but it's subjective in the sense that you can't dictate whether all of these other people are going to abide and value those same principles as you.
That's why the Maester Targaryen told Jon Snow that Ned Stark is 1 in 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10,000 are who runs the system, and he's the one.
Wow, like he foreshadowed it then, because Maester Aemon, he tells Jon, even though he's speaking to him about the prospect of him trying to leave his duties on the wall to go help his brother fight this war and save their father. He tells him that, what did he say? He said, love is death of duty, right? And what does Ned Stark choose in the end? He chooses love, which is to save his daughters, but then that becomes the death of his duty.
Yeah.
Because his duty would have been to not bend the knee, and then on top of it say that he was trying to usurp the crown for himself is preposterous, because he was never trying to do that. He never came off as he said that Stannis was the heir to the throne, so there was no him wanting to seize the power for himself. But then the problem there, and what you mentioned before about the mimetic desire and stuff, is that there is no autonomous want. And usually what it is, just like you said, is that if two or more people are wanting or desiring that power or control or status or the physical object, then it makes the desire kind of a reality.
Right.
And then,
especially if you apply Nietzschean philosophy to that as well, of like God is dead and we've killed God. You know, it's like there is no organizing principle that's above the throne. The throne is the one object of interest.
And then what happens, like what ignites all of this to begin with is King Robert dies, right? And all of a sudden the throne becomes something accessible. And because so many people want to be on the throne, right? Renly wants to surpass his brother Stannis, who is the heir to the throne and wants to have the throne for himself. And Stannis is off somewhere and probably now wants the throne because he finds out that his brother Robert died and he's next in line. And then you have Cersei, who wants to have an indirect connection to the throne through her son Joffrey. And so it's like everybody, this like rivalry that starts brewing and stuff. And then meanwhile, Ned is trying to stay out of it. But then the irony of what Maester Aemon says is that he turns down the throne because he was the heir to the throne, and he turns it down to fulfill a duty of protecting and serving something greater beyond his eros and his personal desires, right? And instead chooses what's the word, like the agape, which is the servitude and the selfless duty. But then like Ned,
which the best way to do that is at the wall, because that's the best place to protect and truly serve your duties to the realm is at the wall.
And you're
not in King's Landing,
and you're not involved in all of the mechanisms of manipulation and
power
corruption
dynamics.
And power dynamics and control. And so, like in Ned's case, like what you're saying is that like his values, if he had known, right? If he had known what he knows in those last moments when Catelyn warned him not to go south and be the hand of the king, and if he decided that his duties aren't as important as he's claiming it to be for himself, then he would have never put himself in that predicament to begin with.
That's what I'm saying. His virtue is his fall. Because in this world, virtue means nothing. Because even Robert Baratheon didn't upkeep or uphold any virtuous front. You know, like he clearly demonstrated himself to just not really care.
Yeah, and that's another thing is that when Joffrey is giving the sentence, he says they have the hearts of women, right? Like, and he says like his mom and his Cersei and Sansa want mercy, but they have the hearts of women.
But then God also has the heart of a woman then.
But you know...
Because like mercy is a female trait according to Joffrey, but then that's why he undermines the religious order, because they claim that the gods are merciful. And then Joffrey says that mercy is a female trait that is weak in this world.
Yeah, and he has no real he has no belief system, because think about this, like what... Also, all he's really doing is just mirroring his environment, his upbringing, right? What
regurgitating his mom.
What does he see his father, King Robert, doing? He's misogynistic. Yeah. He objectifies women and indulges in them and
mistreats the queen.
Doesn't uphold his word of loyalty to his marriage. And so it's like, what is he going to do now? Is he going to respect his word to Sansa? He already demonstrated to Cersei at some point in one of the earlier episodes that he doesn't even want to marry Sansa. But then Cersei kind of reassures him, like, you know, you just do it and whatever, and is like pulling strings and stuff. Because what I think is the reality is that when he went to Winterfell and they traveled there, when Robert went to go recruit Ned, he saw what Winterfell was. And think about this, like he was raised a prince in King's Landing in this castle.
New York City.
And he goes, sees this like humble abode that's Winterfell, which is still
to Alaska.
Yeah, like it's still towers.
He's from New York and he's like in a high rise and he goes to Alaska.
Yeah, it's like
there's nothing there. Like there's nothing to do. It's boring.
And so he's obviously going to associate Sansa with that. It's not like she's also of King's Landing and she's a princess already in her right. And so he's not going to have any respect for her already as it is. And so it's interesting that like obviously he's not going to uphold his word to her.
Yeah, he's not.
It's like it's so clear as day in his attitude to think that he would show mercy, to think that he would be an honorable king is just a delusion.
To not counter, but to add on to the flame that you're starting. You're saying that Joffrey's behavior and outlook and worldview is learned behavior from those around him and those who raised them. The same applies to Sansa, because Sansa assumes that his word will be kept because she grew up around her father, around the men of the North, and she was told fairy tales and stories of how things are conducted in King's Landing and how the queen and the king are these these like fairy tale characters, and so she assumes that the word will be kept. And she's also kind of inheriting her dad's inability to have foresight or to have good judge of character, right? So I think that you need to have good judge of character, which I don't think that the Stark children really have, aside from maybe Robb Stark. Like Robb is literally starting to have a better judge of character. Jon Snow, obviously, but in terms of like their legitimate heirs, I think Robb Stark showed that when Jaime Lannister tried to, kind of maneuver his way out of his bonds, like he tried to find a bureaucratic language that the Starks, or traditional bureaucratic language that the Starks would honor, right? A virtuous offer, like face me as a warrior, as a man, and keep your honor and whatever. And Robb knew. So like Robb declined that offer, not fearing, for example, that his bannermen and his army would look down upon him for rejecting that offer. Like I think most people in the North probably know that the Lannisters are snaky at best,
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because he uses an art of war tactic. Because what I realized is that those men that he sent, that Tywin won against, like, he sacrificed those troops.
He did.
So he made a military decision to expend the lives of these 2,000 people, because they were all killed, in order to get an upper hand, and that's part of the art of war, because the idea is that the way to win war is with the mind, is through the mind first. And so he strategically does that and is able to seize Jaime's fleet and then capture Jaime. And so even though it came at the cost of his own men and having to make that kind of impersonal, detached, calculated move, he does it, and it shows where, like, whereas
and it's not
like
completely detached, because you saw that he's not celebrating it.
Yeah, he's not celebrating.
He's thinking about the men he lost.
Right, but then it's interesting because just like you're saying, it's very different from, like, maybe Ned wouldn't have done something like that. Like, he probably would have rallied completely against it and just gone head to head, and then it's whoever wins, and that's it. But in this case, just like you're saying, Robb is very strategic in seeing through these.
He's adapting. He's adaptable.
Yeah,
I think Ned Stark is not flexible in that way.
No, very, very rigid and and then Robb is,
which is a virtuous constancy, right? Like that's that's what Seneca would also preach, is that you have to be constant in your virtue. So consistency is in alignment and equates to honor and is directly proportionate.
And it's really interesting too, because Tywin thinks that he has won, or he knows that he has more men and stuff, but he doesn't know yet that he used those men to outsmart him. And that's interesting. But then, like, I think that there's still a possibility. I don't know what's going to happen to Sansa, but it's interesting. You mentioned her worldview basically collapses in on itself because she has to literally see her father get beheaded right before her eyes.
Talk about trauma. It's like, how many years of therapy for her?
I know. And now,
and for Arya too, you know?
Yeah, and at the very least, Arya didn't have to witness it because she was shielded.
She closed her eyes,
Yeah. But those birds flying away and the sound itself is already enough to.
It's more than enough.
Trigger that trauma, but
the imagination for traumatic occurrences, the imagination is very good at filling in the blanks when it comes to trauma.
Yeah,
because it's a survival mechanism that we've evolved to use. Like when we were in the Saharan desert, you know, in the safari, so to speak. Like we would need to use our imagination in order to kind of get the best of certain game and like predators and animals and be able to survive against enemies. Is that the imagination, whether we want to or not, it automatically fills in the blanks.
Did you know that they would use cave paintings, and the reason they would paint like hunts is because they were literally painting successful hunts so that when the hunters would go out, they would have successful hunts. And then
we plan on doing a whole podcast on just cave paintings, because cave paintings, like there's the idea that the artists, the primitive artists, they took advantage of even the different kind of textures on the cave walls and the different levelings and stuff, and they integrated that into the shading. And they also used torches when they were deep in the caves, and the light would flicker in a way that would animate the like figures on the wall and create a story. And it was also an initiation rite of passage, apparently, because there were archaeologists discovered like footprints of like kids and younger men going into the cave with older men and being initiated into the way of life, but through these paintings and through these rituals inside of the paintings. And also Leonardo da Vinci had psychoactive experiences, maybe on or off psychoactive compounds, but while he was inside of a cave is where he kind of like contacted aliens or something like that.
And that story of the guy who went inside of the tomb of the pharaoh in the inside of the pyramids,
King's Chamber.
In the King's Chamber. There you go.
And there's a whole documented journey of him describing that on YouTube.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting.
I just got to reset the game. Do you have anything else? 3 minutes on the clock.
Okay, no, I'll be able to do it. But basically what I was going to say about Sansa is that it's very interesting because you can already see, like, now that their survival has been triggered, because Sansa's survival was already triggered once Ned was imprisoned, and same with Arya when she sees like the Lannister men trying to get her while she's having her lesson with Syrio Forel. But their survival has already been triggered, and it's very interesting how they both handle it very differently, because in Sansa's case, she has been using the tactic of being obedient and pleasing, like appeasing to Cersei and the King's Landing people in order to ensure her own survival and the survival of her father. And then you have Arya, whose instinct is to be ready to act, and Needle has become almost like an extension of her nervous system, where when she sees her father now is like chained and about to be beheaded, her impulse now, her survival instinct is to react in a way where she's like ready to strike,
to confront.
Yeah. So it's very interesting how they both handle like literally fight or flight. Kind of Sansa is like people pleasing, and then Arya's more externalized.
Which is in the Carl Jungian sense, with the death of the father archetype, it's the plunging and the throwing of these children into the sea journey of the night of the soul, kind of. So they're forced now to undergo the process of individuation, which now that they don't have the firm structure and protection of their father, they have to now provide that for themselves. And to go through this process of individuation, like what happens now that you don't have daddy to protect you.
And especially Sansa, right? Because Arya at least has that man who I don't even know who he is.
Well, Arya always showed to be more of like a tomboy, right? In that way, where she would be more like venturous and more inclined to kind of defend herself and compete with her brothers, right? In the arts of survival in this world, which I think will benefit her tremendously. And I'm curious to see how Sansa is going to probably learn a lot from Cersei, because she already is kind of trying to mirror Cersei in the way of being a queen.
Yeah, I don't know how she would want to marry Joffrey now.
Yeah, that's pretty dramatic, but all right, I got to reset the camera. Hold on. So there is like one more thing that I just want to point out too, is just like the set design, obviously, right? Like we've mentioned how everything is happening kind of like if you imagine it as a stage, everything's happening in front of this menacing, overarching kind of grandiose architecture, which is religious, right? This religious architecture. And you have the execution, right? And the execution itself, which you kind of alluded to before, how the king, Joffrey in this case, he has power over life and death, right? So he's the embodiment of divine judgment, exactly, right? So that's the like, according to Michel Foucault, right? There's the execution in medieval times specifically was viewed as a technology of power, right? And this technology of power is basically like when a king executes a subject or a traitor or a enemy of the crown, he inscribes upon the body, uses the body as a canvas to inscribe his power, right? So the body itself becomes the very medium and very message of justification for the king's divine rule. So they use that beautifully. And I just wanted to point out how like Michel Foucault literally talks about that in his work, and they demonstrated it almost like to the T, like it's a technology of power execution. But in this case, it relies on the crowd and the audience that's witnessing the execution, which you also alluded to earlier, to believing and having their beliefs shaped in a way that benefits the crown, which I don't think they did a good job in this case. And there's also speaking of the crowd too, like I don't think that the crowd in this case was impartial. I think that the crowd is an active participant, and there's also this other idea by, I believe it's Gustave Le Bon, the hive consciousness, like that's like the earliest kind of, I think it's found in his work. The hive consciousness is this idea that when you're in a crowd, be it at a party, at a stadium, watching a football game, watching a concert, watching a political rally, when you are an active member within a crowd, you undergo a process of de-individualization. So you are stripped of your individuality and you adopt instead a crowd psychology. And this opens you to a higher degree of suggestibility along with all the other members of the crowd. So in ancient Greek tragedies, they used to have something called the Greek chorus. And the Greek chorus were usually masked individuals who would who would relate to the audience in order to educate them on the moral implications, moral and ethical implications of the play. They would kind of narrate and equip them with the knowledge and with the understanding that would enhance the play. So in this case, for the audience, the crowd becomes a barometer and becomes a Greek chorus of sorts, right? So like we feel and we see their visceral kind of like anger and resentment and ooh and ah, right? So they become a barometer of whether or not the king is doing a good job. And I think that they portray that perfectly, because even Ned Stark in that moment of like apatheia where he's like zoning out everything and embodying that like meditative kind of just like or moment before death, and he doesn't cry, he doesn't beg for his life, he doesn't cower from death, because he's learned how to die before he has to die, right? So when everything kind of zones out and he focuses on the crowd, I think that he understands in that moment that like, oh, like his destiny and his virtue and his honor has all been on the hinge of these, psychologically speaking, these animals, right? Because these like, basically whatever happens on that stage, him getting unjustly executed, the people in the crowd, they don't undergo a deep, personal, introspective contemplation after it happens or during it. And they're not like, is this good or bad? Is this wrong or right? Because they lose their sense of individual reasoning when you're in the crowd. And that's what Gustave Le Bon perfectly kind of like speaks on, which is the hive consciousness. And drawing a parallel to modern times, you see that kind of inflamed even more so with social media.
Yeah.
Social media has a lot of that, especially like tweeting, right? Like the rage baiting communities on the internet, people gathering, especially when you introduce the element of anonymity, right? Being able to keep yourself anonymous, and the troll culture, right? Which trolls on the internet, people who spew negativity, hate speech, or even worse, they are usually like narcissistic, and they're like deeply deranged people.
Yeah.
And it's usually like a group of these deeply deranged people forms a hive consciousness that then creates more chaos. And so I think that was interesting, because the crowd doesn't really have a say when they're governed as subjects by a tyrannical ruler. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, what they are witnessing is that tyranny, because it's an unjust murder, tyranny is what's being born right in front of them. And their reactions, because they're in a hive consciousness mode, it puts them in a higher suggestibility, and then kind of even justifies tyranny. And that's usually what, like, for example, Hitler used that tactic, right? Like he would do these huge rallies and stuff. And people usually, like, your first instinct is like, wow, like, oh my God, like speaking in front of that many people. But the idea is that you imagine people in their underwear because people are more susceptible. So it's a primitive susceptibility that when people are in the crowd, they are more swayed by whatever the wave of the crowd is. So if you're at a stadium and people are doing the wave, you're going to probably do it even if you don't believe in doing waves. And like a rational individual, when you're in your room, in your house alone, like you don't believe in waves, you're against it politically. Like you don't believe in the act of energy exertion of getting up and doing that movement. You think it's stupid, it's pathetic. But then when you're there with your friends and you're partying and you're like, and then you just do it.
Yeah.
So that's the, the like premise of the crowd psychology.
Yeah. Very interesting, because that's basically what every aspect of society is. It's like everything is kind of subjective on the collective experience or the collective perspectives on things. And we've talked about it, like what decides that someone is famous. It's that people are collectively deciding that this person is of value of some sort and given some higher form of attention. And if enough people do that thing or believe that, then that will define that person as a celebrity. So
which we've been seeing, like we've been seeing cases of, like, for example, a lot of these artists come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they're just basically, the narrative is crafted in the truest Machiavellian sense. The narrative is crafted and then sold. The belief that this person is of high caliber in their artistry, of high demand, of like highly coveted, wanted, and they become sex symbols, and they become centralized, and they become kind of like everywhere you look, you see them, right? So they get pushed. So a narrative gets pushed and sold to you, whether you want to or not. Because in between watching these videos on YouTube, you're probably consuming a commercial that has something along those lines of like a crafted narrative that then ignites your mimetic desires and then mimetic rivalry because, I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal pops up and he's selling you pizza and he's selling you something. And then you're like, oh, so you're being swayed and sold narratives all the time. And it's usually crafted by the industry, like insiders, like these companies create the individual, craft them, and then sell them. So it's not like the virtue in the Ned Stark way. The virtue, the like true artist is the one that always becomes famous. Usually it's the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like just like we're seeing
commercialized.
Yeah.
Creativity is commercialized.
Everything gets commercialized. Like any brand or company you see now will integrate some form of high caliber valued person, just like you're saying, just like we saw with the On Brand show that we mentioned that we watched in the last video reaction. You have someone like Jimmy Fallon, who's a big personality, who's well known across the world, across the United States, and then he's promoting these brands. Like that's essentially what it is. It's just like a big kind of marketing.
I don't know, like, and Jimmy Fallon is a good example because I know him from the movie Taxi with Queen Latifah growing up. And if you know Taxi, like that's a deep cut right there. But Jimmy Fallon, like that's the most I've known him in terms of act. Like that's the only movie I've seen him act in. And so he is famous, to your point. He is known worldwide because he was placed in the position where whoever's behind the scenes is using their resources to push his show in his face and to position him as a controllable asset who is a host to then promote other people within the industry's work.
Yeah.
So for example, like Drake goes on there, right? Even though Drake is being sued currently for promoting gambling, openly promoting gambling to kids and his fans. But he's also going to eventually get caught for faking his views and faking his numbers, right? Like that's the whole idea, is that Kendrick's coming for him because of that, and J. Cole has implied it also in his music. But Drake goes on, promotes his album, and Jimmy Fallon is there because he's someone that will willingly sell his soul, so to speak, to sell the album. You know what I'm saying? So it's a system that is
has
imbued.
To benefit all of the ones that are interwoven together. So
otherwise there wouldn't be a Tonight Show, is my point.
Yeah, like
if it wasn't to promote another vested interest of the owners of industry who also own these other things.
Yeah, but then that's like the foundation of a lot of things, right? Like you'll see there are certain shows or channels or whatever it is, and then there's like a future upcoming release, right? And then what's the thing that everybody does? Or even if it's like Joe Rogan has someone on his show, then suddenly all these other shows are going to have that same person because of the
they're
views.
Going on a promotion run.
Yeah, so it's like that's just like
to promote their special, their comedy special, their product. You can even argue that the iPhone is created and highly technological in order to sell to us constantly, right? To like sell ideas, concepts, ideologies, division, everything. So it's a product, it's a vehicle of transmission of ideologies.
But I think, like, to your point, I think that that's where the issue lies, is that, especially now, which is what you're saying, it's the collective mindset. It kind of strips away or makes it very difficult to distinguish what your own principles and your own values are, and it's very easy to kind of succumb to collectively acting, or and then in this case, like, that's what, just like you're saying, like, that's what's happening. It's that there's a whole crowd, and that's probably what happened when Jesus was also given the opportunity to be freed next to I forget what was Barbados? Or what was his name?
Jimas?
Jimas
um bandido.
Oh, I don't remember.
Two thieves, right? Like,
yeah,
well,
no.
One was a thief, but the other one was
No, the one that Pontius Pi. How do you say that guy's name? Pontius Pi.
Pontius Pius.
Pontius Pius.
Yeah.
Whatever, but
the Roman dude.
Yeah, but then he presents the criminal, who's an actual criminal, a murderer, I think it was, and then presents Jesus, and then the crowd tells him that they want to sacrifice Jesus and not this guy, and free this guy who's a murderer.
Right, because that also shows the value system that the crowd has, which the crowd valued religious hubris, not religious hubris, but what's the term? Basically committing religious crime is more important to them in their hierarchy of value than somebody stealing something.
But that's probably what's happening here, because he has different gods too. And then these people probably scoff at that, because just like in the last episode, I think it was, the wildling woman mentioned that there are no werewolves in the South, and so the old gods cannot reach there.
And can't protect Ned.
And there's no connection there. There's no connection to that. And so those people, they already don't consider the gods that he has faith towards.
So King's Landing is like a Babylon of sorts, where they worship idols.
Yeah.
It's the Protestant idea, right? Is that you kind of resort to a humble kind of abode in order to worship your God, versus the Catholic peacocking that happens, the like grandeur of the massive structures and the statues of saints and idols, So in King's Landing, there's more focus on whatever gods, the new gods are probably crafted in order to justify the ruling on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, like just to keep feeding the narrative, and that's it.
It's not
and
like a true
solidify
religious
it.
experience. It's not true gods.
And it's interesting you mentioned that, because even the way that the execution happens, right? In this case, there's like a crowd of people that are kind of dictating in a way what result or outcome they want, and then take that example, right? Like in this architecture and stuff, versus the first episode, again, when Ned is executioning this guy who abandons his night's watch, and there's no crowd. It's only a few. He picks out his son and a few, and obviously the important people of Winterfell, and then that's it. But it's in the middle of nowhere, like in land, and it's away from crowds and people and the people of Winterfell, and it's isolated. And that's a point that I wanted to mention, is that I think that that's why Joffrey's view on death is so miscued, is because his exposure to death is theater. It's like, it's the jousts, it's the crowds cheering at the jousts. It's like
that's a good point.
A dominance assertion, right? Like just whoever can hit who off their horse, and then that's it, and it's a spectacle. But then in the case of Winterfell, and taking Bran as an example, because he's kind of coincides with like Joffrey as being a child in that way, and their exposure to death. His first exposure to death, when Ned is passing the sentence, is meant to show him that death is a death, and passing the sentence of death is a weighty and like heavy decision to make, and there is no pleasure to be taken from it. That it's something that his father does to just serve his duty and his honor, and that's it. But then he does so in an honorable way where he allows the executioner to kind of make his peace with the sentence, and doesn't just like call out for his head and make it this grandiose show, which is what Joffrey does. And so it's a very night and day difference to the exposure that the Starks and maybe the people in the North have of death and what it means. And then Joffrey, who's,
and you can clearly see that Joffrey is swayed by the crowd, because there's a moment where the crowd yells out, "Kill him," and then it cuts to Joffrey's face, and he's kind of like smiling and kind of enjoying and just embracing all of that public attention. And then he's probably off of adrenaline too, right? Because he's a powerful person and he's feeling the true power of his position for the first time in front of a crowd. And that's a great point, where he's experienced the crowd before, and it's always in the context of the crowd. It's always in the context of a courtly kind of public life, very public life. And then you have Ned Stark teaching his kids that to upkeep virtue, like virtue requires difficult decisions. And the difficult decision is usually having to do things yourself. Like you have to get your hands dirty, and you have to kind of sacrifice your own kind of like emotions in that sense to upkeep the virtue of the realm. Because if he doesn't execute the guy in the first episode, then he opens an exception to the rule, which then probably undermines the whole constancy of virtue throughout the kingdom, right? Like then what do you have if you don't have laws that are upkept? And so you have to know that the guy who fled, even if he was running from zombies, he broke a rule. And you want everybody then to know that if you go beyond the wall, you best not return or run away from the wall. You better, choose a warrior's death. So it's kind of like there's deeper implications to being able to upkeep that. But
then here's like a devil's advocate point of view. Like Joffrey, in a twisted way, thinks that that's what he's doing. Because he doesn't...
You think so? Like you think he believes that he's doing the right thing? Or
I think that he believes that Ned is a traitor and that he has done a treasonous thing, which is question his legitimacy to the throne. And whether he's doing that in a twisted and cruel and malevolent way is one argument. But I think the fact stands that his narrative and the narrative that's been painted by Cersei and Varys, who are trying to spare him, and all these other people, is that Ned is a traitor, even though that's not the case. But then, of course, Joffrey now has to make a decision for himself. Like, okay, this is a traitor. This is a treasonous person. He just confessed what he tried to do. And so what are you going to do now with that information? Are you going to allow it to slip by, or do you have to now assert your dominance? And again, like he does it in a very twisted and exaggerated way, like bring me his head, and there's no honor to it, and there's no care, and there's no empathy. But I think that that's kind of what, like, again, in a weird way, is what he's doing. It's kind of severing any loose ties.
I think that his decisions are based off of fear.
Yeah, they are based.
He's shown that like he like runs behind his parents, he runs behind people, he flinches at a sword being thrown. I think his fear is that he's going to lose the position of power that he currently has, and he feels like he loves it, so he operates off of his own whims. Desires. But then what he's showing is that I think it was Marcel Mauss, the nephew of Emil Durkheim. And Emil Durkheim is considered the father of sociology. And his nephew, I believe his name is Marcel Mauss. He was also a sociologist, but he also dabbled in the anthropological space. But he has a book called The Gift. And in The Gift, he explains how the social fabric is contingent on exchanges of words and vows. and gifts. Like gift giving anthropologically throughout history has been one of the things where it implies the need for reciprocity. So Ned Stark, for example, he bends his own virtue and his own beliefs by confessing to a lie because he's upkeeping his end of the bargain. But then when Joffrey shows that he's not reliable even to keep a agreement, a social contract intact, and upkeep his end and just send Ned to the wall and keep him alive, that I think fundamentally is gonna fracture the whole idea of everything. Like not even just power, but the whole idea of like people can't trust your word during this time. So what is there?
Yeah.
Aside from that.
Yeah, and like you said, word is so important, and that's why with the written word and why this discovery and the secrecy of Joffrey's real parentage and stuff is so important too, because it's literally a written thing that the Baratheons have black hair, and so word and written and vocalized word and giving your word, it's and consistency are very important.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
But to just quickly speak on what you just said about the words and like contracts and vows and stuff, Jacques Rancière's, I believe he's still alive. He's a French intellectual, and he's a professor in one of the universities in France, I believe. But he discusses the politics of aesthetics and how modern media has become kind of a medium and a weapon, right, used for that end. And how, like, for example, traditional bureaucratic vows and contracts and written policy has taken the backseat in favor of a world that's governed by raw image-based power, or image-based power that generates raw emotional turmoil. And so modern media, social media, meme culture, video circulating, especially during this time of ambivalence that we've been going through, right, as a collective society through the atrocities that have been committed in Israel, for example, you see that the media is being used for that end. You know, it's like creating a lot of division, a lot of exposure to shocking, emotionally heavy images, and so that's taking the forefront in favor of like versus like written policy, and that's the politics of aesthetics. And I feel like the spectacle, right? The spectacle, just like you said, like Joffrey loves to be in front of the people. He loves to be a spectacle. He loves to enact one in front of the people, and that's what he's doing. And Ned Stark, we saw that he is of the old-fashioned way of thinking. He likes to value or would value written policy, written testimonials. What he uncovers is inside of a book. He uncovers truth inside of a book. He writes Robert's will, and he, you know, treats it with a lot of value, and Cersei just rips it right in front of him and in front of everybody. So I think that that's the transition from the old way of doing things in the more written way to the aesthetics of aesthetics of power, essentially.
Yeah.
And then that transition, and this is my final thing, like just also there's like a nice portrayal of this, is that there's Victor Turner's ritual, right? Which is this idea that every ritual throughout history, since the dawn of time, can be defined by three distinct phases. There's the separation phase, which is usually when the hero undergoes a separation from their current reality. And in this case, we see, like, when applied to Ned Stark's story arc specifically, he is separated from the North, from his virtue-bound reality where moral capital is prevalent. People abide by rules, and they exchange obligations, and they exchange gifts of service, of social.
Yeah, trustworthiness. Yeah.
Like your word is valued, and it's not hyperinflated like it is in King's Landing. So he's separated from that reality, and then he is placed in a second stage, which is the stage of liminality, which is the liminal space, right? And usually when you're telling a story, if you're reading it or if you're watching it, the space of liminality is the betwixt and between. It's the space of limbo. It's the purgatory, so to speak. It's the place where we don't know what the outcome is going to be, but all of the moral all of the structures that we once valued is taken away from us, right? So if we were a knight in shining armor and heavily shielded, our armor and shield and weaponry is stripped completely, and we are thrown naked in the middle of the ocean, and that's the stage of liminality. And then we're forced to swim and survive in that state of liminality. So during his execution, he's placed in that state where he's completely kind of lost. Like he's lost in the sauce, so to speak, right? So he doesn't really know what's happening. But the entire realm, applying the thing that we talked earlier, Carl Jung's archetype of the father, the entire realm is in this position, not just his kids. His kids reflect also what all the seven kingdoms are going through without even noticing or realizing it consciously. But they're going through this period of liminality where the old guard is being decapitated and the new guard, this new order that's new and therefore unknown to anybody in this world, like nobody knows what to expect. There's an ambiguous future. Exactly. And like that's the core idea of being placed in that space of liminality. And then the third stage is the stage of reintegration, which on an individual level, it's the individuation phase. It's when the people who undergo or survive the liminal space, they have to now reconstitute themselves with new kind of armor and new character traits and newly founded and learned and acquired attributes that they then carry into this new phase. And I feel like that's what the show brilliantly showed at the very end. Like they cut it right at that moment of anagnorisis, right at that moment of tragic realization, where everything, especially the viewer, the audience, is placed in this ocean of uncertainty. It's like, what now?
Yeah, and yes, and we have to walk away with that also, because just like you're saying,
loss of innocence.
Yeah, like we wanted to believe that, okay, he will be spared or you know, he will be shown mercy, but then we have to confront the reality, which is much darker than maybe we had hoped or expected it would be, and kind of like turns itself on its head.
The audience becomes implicit.
And then
so the loss of innocence.
Yeah, and like that's directly what I think Sansa's experience will probably directly show now too, because she was the one that was preserving her innocence the most in that way, where her perspective of the world was very innocent, where she felt like it was just about her courtly duty and life as a princess and soon to be queen and kind of this romantic ideal, but then that just dissipates and collapses on itself. And I think that her perspective specifically is one where she'll really have to take this experience, like you're saying, and she'll have to apply it and fortify herself, because she is still in the hands of this ambiguous, unpredictable person who is Joffrey. And she has to be able to maneuver that now on her own, completely on her own, with the guy that saved and shielded Arya is not going to be able to do that for Sansa.
Yes.
And so Sansa is going, just like you said, is going to have her own kind of hero journey now, where she has to take this traumatic experience and
reconstitute herself.
Yeah.
And if you think about the whole episode, because we've been focusing obviously on the climax of the episode, but the whole episode is a ritual for all the characters that it displays. Because you see Robb Stark undergoing his displacement, and then he's forced into a position of liminality, and you see Tyrion, who's placed in the battlefield, which is out of his normal comfortable space of just being able to drink and just have all the women and all the luxuries of his travels. And then you have Daenerys Targaryen, who's also undergoing a stage of liminality, of uncertainty, now with the death of her father figure, of her protector, so to speak, of her knight in shining armor. She has to now reconstitute herself and position herself in a way that grants her survival in some way. So it's like everybody is undergoing these same kind of like ritualistic tropes, and it's emphasized with Daenerys Targaryen because of the magical agent of transformation. Like her Gandalf is maybe the witch that comes and then kind of like serves as a hostess of this transition, you know, of a magical agent of change, which is the Joseph Campbell's traditional hero's journey trope, right? It's Gandalf comes knocking at the Shire and serves as a transformative agent of the possibility of like what the hero is and was and is comfortable being versus what the hero could become and their potential on a psychological level. It's like that's what growth essentially is. If you stay in your comfort zone, then you stagnate at the detriment of your own potential. So if you're comfortable, that's not always good. Like you don't want to be comfortable. And that's why you have all of these grifters nowadays, these self-help gurus that have these courses and these seminars. They kind of portray themselves as these reintegrating hardship into men, into like teaching young boys to be men. And then they radicalize themselves and radicalize young men into believing that that's the solution in that specific way. But the idea is just every person is called in a language that only they can really hear and understand. And it's the calling to Abraham. It's the calling to it's just the calling that comes to you, you know, like it's what pulls you towards who you could become in the sense of aiming to the highest potential that you can possibly muster. And if you just seek comfort and seek to be okay in this life, then you strip yourself of that own development, which some could even argue that that's the antidote to nihilism also. It's that's what gives life purpose, and that makes life not inherently purposeless and barren of meaning.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I wanted to mention about Tyrion too, because it kind of goes hand in hand. Like he has a traumatic experience that felt probably ripped the rug from underneath his feet, because he proposed marriage to this woman Tysha, and then his father and his brother Jaime reveal that it was all set up and that she's actually a WHORE, a lady of the night. And then what his father does is have her be taken by multiple men in front of him. And I think that that very much explains why he is the way he is. And it's kind of been his way of armoring himself and being able to maneuver and navigate this world by not having any weaknesses displayed that can be weaponized against you. And it's also
his reason for being such a good judge of character, because because he learned how to read his dad, which he thought he could trust, and his brother, who he thought he could trust.
Yeah.
Even if Jaime did it out of good intentions because he wanted to help his brother become a man, but his father then makes it into a hell.
Yeah.
You know, like his father evilizes it, or obviously that's not a word, but makes it evil.
Yeah. And so I think that's like, what was I going to say? I think that explains also why he's cynical and why he's very sarcastic, and why he has a cynical personality. It's because he has that kind of father. And so I think also there's an importance of parenting involved, and I think that that can be said for maybe even like tyrants, for example, and Joffrey in this case. Like however you're raised will have an influence in that way in your psychology, and maybe a lot of those parents didn't really instill discipline and consequences, and we see that with Joffrey, because you know, when Tyrion slaps him at Winterfell for his lack of respects to Bran being pushed out of the window, he kind of reacts like scoffed and and is taken aback by Tyrion smacking him because he's never been disciplined or reprimanded for his misbehavior. He's a prince and he's entitled, and his mother and his real father, Jaime, believe that they are above moral law because they can push a child out of a window to keep their secret love affair
and their
under
family
wraps.
owns the world.
Yeah, so
with money.
So they think that they're kind of divine and like omnipotent in a sense, where they're untouchable. And so I think that parenting and how Tywin has raised his kids is reflected, and then Tyrion just chooses to now kind of like withhold the things he cares about so that it doesn't ever get, turned against him. But then, it's very interesting how they choose like different paths and how people can turn out different ways, like based on the environment that they grow up around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how psychopaths are born.
Yeah.
And Joffrey's one of those people.
Yes.
He's like an extreme narcissist. And yeah, like I don't know. This episode is going to be a lot to process.
This episode was heavy. The next one is already the end of the season.
I know. God,
So
I'm going to
one
be
more to
so
go.
heartbroken to see how Catelyn reacts to the news. And
Oh man, the aftermath of this is going to be insanity, right? It's like the gravity of it, because you know, like just like we were talking about, like we assume that the main character can't die, like in every story that we read, like there's a redemptive aspect to being the protagonist, right? Like your virtue saves you. Like something eagle with a Gandalf on top of it comes swooping in and saves you.
yeah.
In this case, there's no Gandalf on an eagle coming to save Ned.
And that's why I don't blame Liza now that I think about it, even though she's a little bit
Yeah.
I don't blame her for retreating. She fled, like she made a quick instinctive decision. And I think that when Ned had the instinctive decision to get his daughters and leave to Winterfell, like that should have been the only and main priority. But then it got sidetracked because of Robert dying, and then it's like,
which is trying to satisfy another person's wishes, like it's following your own instincts, which are usually right if you follow your gut, especially if you're a person who has your value hierarchy well structured, like Ned Stark. If you follow your instincts in that case, which he should have, then he would have maybe saved himself and his family and positioned himself in the north where he could kind of, have more calm and peace to organize himself against this threat. But then he just wanted to believe that the pen is mightier than the sword, and he found out that the Lannisters don't believe that.
And it's very interesting too, because this puts into question like why monarchies aren't like why monarchies are faulty in a sense, because you get some example like this, like Joffrey inheriting the throne, and it's someone who's not suitable, who isn't ready, who hasn't been prepared, but then they have the right to rule. And so like that's why democracies are in place in certain places still,
voting systems, right?
because it prevents this kind of unrestrained and uncontained power that, like you said, is like unpredictable and also unjustly given to people. And then in Joffrey's case, like he really abuses that power. And the truth is that he is just insecure. Like his legitimacy is called into question. And I'm sure that it confuses him, and he probably subconsciously doesn't know what to make of that. And the fact that King Robert might not actually be his father. And so I think that he overcompensates for sure. And in order to silence like his own internal doubts about that, he has to silence the person who brings it into question to begin with. And that's the only way that he can kind of validate his own existence.
Because he hasn't internally resolved that conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
It's externalized where everybody becomes a threat.
And it's the fault of his parents, really, because like if that were, I think that if it were any normal case and he knew that Jaime was his father, then maybe he would be a completely different person.
Or he would have been more messed up.
Or he would have been more messed up, yeah, but
who knows?
I don't know.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's pretty much it.
And I just want to say that, so we had said at the beginning that we would read the comments from YouTube now, but what we'll do instead is for every video, there will be a pinned comment and there will be a question, and then we will open a discussion within the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started thinking like, what if we get 50 comments?
Yeah.
So then I'm thinking like, it's not gonna be sustainable. So it's not really worth trying to do that or even starting that. So what we're going to do instead is Gabriella and I will be responding to those comments in that questionnaire. And then we'll be having a debate, a spoiler-free debate for every video, whether it's a series or a movie. And so always just check the pinned comment and join us in the conversation. Comment also like your favorite part of this reaction discussion. What's the keyword for the deep end?
Let it be. Let's see.
Or the key phrase. It doesn't have to be limited to a word. Let me see. Let me try to think too. Ritual.
Okay.
Or do you have a better one?
Comment. No, I don't know. I was gonna say honor.
Honor?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just comment. So if you reach the deep end, just comment ritual.
Ritual, yeah, I like that.
Because it's a one word thing and we'll know.
Okay,
like
yeah, because that is pretty distinct enough. That yeah, so ritual.
And it also shows that you like listen to the very last points too. Like it's like a little Easter egg.
Even us like deciding what the word is gonna be and getting past it.
So you took your time and you joined us in this time that we're devoting to this, and you're also joining us right there with us. Time's almost running out. Do you have anything else?
My last and final thing is that I am a full Stark supporter all the way. I want nothing to do with the Lannisters aside from Tyrion.
I was going to say that I'm kind of divided because Tyrion is my favorite character so far.
I know, but I mean like as a whole, like who would I want to win in battle and stuff? I think I'm at this point, I think I'm full-fledged Stark fandom, and look, I instinctively wore blue pants today, so Winterfell support over you.
So with that being said, also be sure to comment below your favorite moments, comment below any contributions, keep it spoiler free, keep an eye out for the pinned comments at the end. If you want the full length uncut reaction and uncensored, you can find that on Patreon. It also supports the channel. And with that being said, don't forget. Oh, and also like, comment the YouTube stuff. It really helps. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribe so you keep up to date. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss another video. And with that being said, don't forget that it's never wrong
to be mentally gone. Peace to the world.
Never wrong. Don't forget that.
Don't forget it.